Hi, my name is Mackenzie Squires. I'll be presenting on Wendy Carlos, Rachel Elkind-Tourre, and The Shining. Here we go. Here's my abstract if you want to take a moment and pause the video and read it. If not, let's go. Wendy Carlos was born Walter Carlos in 1939. She's from Rhode Island. On her mother's side, her family is really musical, so she started playing piano at 6 and played until she was 15. Sometime around 15, she started experimenting with the electronics that her father would leave around the house from his job. Her interest in electronics and music, composing specifically, led her to start retuning her parents' piano, which I'm sure her parents absolutely loved that. But it wasn't until she heard Pierre Henry's The Veil of Orpheus, which came out in 1953, that she decided this was what she wanted to do for the rest of her life. She went to Brown University, where she created her own major for physics and music. She was encouraged by Wesley Nyborg to do so. And then when she graduated there, she went to Columbia University and studied music in the Columbia Princeton Electronic Music Center. This is where she started getting into film music. She met Bob Moog, who was an Asheville native. And this is also where she met Rachel Elkind-Tourre. Elkind-Tourre was born in 1939, the same year, in Hong Kong, and then her family moved to San Francisco, where she grew up. She actually met Carlos at Columbia Records when she was working for Goddard Lieberson as a secretary, so she wasn't doing music work. But then she is a classically trained performer, artist, and jazz show music singer, so you can hear her voice as the sizzle effect in some of the music found in The Shining. This was one of the rare times that Elkind-Tourre stepped out of the shadows behind the mixing board and to the microphone to let her voice be heard. She's a very quiet, enigmatic woman. She doesn't like the spotlight. But the pair started working together and they moved in together as best friends. And then they worked with Kubrick on The Clockwork Orange, and Kubrick invited them back to do the music for The Shining, but this strain and difficulty with Kubrick ultimately led to the end of their relationship. So The Shining came out in 1980. It's directed by Stanley Kubrick and is based on the novel by Stephen King. This was not, as I said, their first movie collaboration, but it was their last. Kubrick asked the two women to compose a score of acoustic music only, no electronics. And they did that for the most part, but they mixed in some electronics here and there because that was their specialty, their focus. For years, Kubrick asked for more and more scores and recordings and like mini mock-ups and stuff like that without providing a contract or compensating the two women. So this started a little bit of tension, but then they were like, it's okay, it's cool, until Kubrick released the movie, and Kubrick had mixed all of this 20th century atonal music into the score and only kept two cues from Carlos and Elkind-Tourre, The Mountain and Colorado. But all the music from the film creates this otherworldly or out of time feeling. As I said, it was made of 12-tone music, which gives it a supernatural sound because that's not what our ears are trained to listen to in the Western art music scene. It's eerie and suspenseful. Western art music creates a sense of anticipation and foreshadows the death of the characters throughout the movie. It's juxtaposed against the beautiful scenery seen in this shot on the left. Elkind-Tourre and Carlos used the Dies Irae, which is the Day of Wrath chant from the 13th century Catholic funeral mass, to represent death. And it has this very dark, low brass sound, which creates this ominous and like dark, foreboding shadow of emotions, which is really cool to think about when you think about the movie and the score. That's how you feel, and it's juxtaposed against the beautiful scenery, which is really interesting. This is the only horror film that I watch. I don't do scary movies at all, but I watch it solely because of the score and the music and the complex soundscape that gives the story so many different dimensions. You can pause and read the last few bullet points that I have on here, but I want to reiterate that my conclusion from this research is that there are powerful women in the film electronic music industry, and that's inspiring. If you want to know more, just reach out and ask. I love talking about it. Thank you for listening.